Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It is so great to have you here today to discuss and to learn more about the Just Serve platform. I think I know everyone here. I'm Vicki Pulis. I'm Rotary International Director for 3 more days, along with Rotary International Director-elect Dan Himmelsbach, who said he already feels like he's been in the saddle for about 6 months. So welcome, Dan. We're being hosted by Lane Dable with Just Serve, and Lane's going to provide us an overview and a demonstration in just a few moments. Lane has agreed to record the meeting so that we can share it with those that are not able to join us today. I did have a number of requests for people who were not able to join us at this time. So just a little bit of background. Dan and I learned about Just Serve last November when we were in Salt Lake City during the Institute. We had a meeting that had leadership from Just Serve and also Rotary. So Lane was there with us. We also had Heath Bradley was with us, in case you know Heath. We had Gordon McAnally, and we also had John Hugo. And at that time, as Dan and I were learning more about this platform, we got excited and had a very robust discussion about how the Just Serve platform could help our clubs and our districts by providing a means for them to be able to offer participation in service projects, service opportunities to community members. So since that time, additional research has gone into this by Rotary. And we're really pleased to be able to offer this session for you to be able to learn more, to ask any questions that you may have. Your colleague, Governor-elect John Redd, has been using this a little bit, and so he'll be a great resource for questions as well. For you to take a look at it and see if you want to be offering this to clubs in your districts. So Dan, is there anything else you'd like to add before we turn this over to Lane?
No, let's go ahead and turn it over to Lane. I'm like Vicki, let me just echo, I'm excited about this too. I think it's a great tool, but the more we learn about it, the more I like it. So Lane's going to enlighten us again today, I think.
So Lane, if you could do a little bit of introduction of yourself, and then we turn it over to you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Lane Dable, and I've been with Just Serve for the last 2.5 years. Just Serve is an effort through the Humanitarian Services Division of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's offered as a free community tool. It's very community focused, and the intent is we just hope people get out there and serve in their communities. We want to simplify that process. So that's where the effort came from, and it's free for organizations. It's free for volunteers, anybody that wants to use it. We have current partnerships with AmeriCorps and Volunteer Match, and I'll share that a little bit too. When you post a project on Just Serve, it simultaneously will post on those platforms as well. And again, our goal is just to make it as simple as possible for people to do good in their community. So that's overall what we've been doing. The platform's been around about 10 years and it's evolved, and we just did a major upgrade to it in February. So we did that on the front end. We're working on the administrative side a little bit, and I'll share why that will be important for what we're trying to accomplish. But let me just share and kind of take you on a quick tour of the site and what we do, and then I'll share with you a little bit a couple of the organization pages that we've put together to be able to maybe simplify what you're doing and to kind of coordinate around what you're doing in Rotary. I don't see the lines, but are you seeing the Just Serve page? Okay.
Yes, we do.
All right. Usually it gives me like a border and I know which screen it's on. So this is our main landing page, and you can see that when I go onto justserve.org, and if I've registered, it'll automatically pull up projects that are available in our area. And again, these are service projects. We have over 3,000 local volunteers that help us really kind of fill this site. They go out and meet with the community organizations that have volunteer needs, and they work with them to put their projects and opportunities on there. So you can see some of the most recent that have come up. I have this set to downtown Salt Lake, so anything within about 25 miles of that. So somebody in Layton has been active this morning with a few different projects that they're putting up. So the way it'll sort is, these are the soonest, meaning that this one, I'm not sure why that came up September. I'm sure they're sooner, but you can see there's a couple of this one's the 4th of July that I could volunteer up in Heber City. So, and then these are the most recently posted. We also provide remote opportunities. So you can see this one is English as a second language, a tutor, which can be done virtually from really anywhere. And so we have some of those different opportunities to help. And so an Operation Gratitude we've worked with for quite a while. That's an opportunity to write cards and thank you and send to them. So essentially that's how it works. If I wanted to volunteer, let's go to Park City, right? We can volunteer at this one. I'll click on the project. It gives me all the information, what's gonna happen in this for the Kimball Arts Center. Apparently, this is their festival and they need volunteers. So gives me a point of contact, you know, all the information that I need. And then if I wanted to volunteer, I would click on here. I won't do that because I'm signed in and it'll commit me. I don't know what I'm doing on August 4th yet.
You'll be volunteered.
I'll be volunteered. So when you volunteer with this, it'll do one of two things. You can either volunteer directly on the JustServe site, and we've improved that. So you can put multiple shifts on there. I may click on it because I don't think it'll confirm until, yeah. So this one, once I click on it, they're going to want me to sign up directly on their website. So they'll redirect me to their website. The other option is that I can volunteer directly. And when I click volunteer, they could set up, hey, we come from 4 to 6 p.m. And I can say, yep, that time works. I sign up for that time through JustServe, and then they'll receive a notification that I volunteered, and they can reach out to me directly to say, hey, when you come, make sure you wear closed-toed shoes or whatever, you'll be moving tables or, you know, so they can give me additional information on that. So just kind of a sample of how the projects work and how people volunteer with that. One of the things that that is interesting that we're adding, I'll just go to my projects. I can see if I have ones that I volunteered for. This also are some others, some administrative ones that I have. But what we've created too, and this is helpful if you have kids or others that need to create a record of their service. So they can, you can go in here and see that, hey, I didn't do this, but I'm an administrator on it. So it has me under there. That was yours, John, I think, that just happened, but and so it shows me everything that I've done. And this just gives you an idea of why we update it. So college students, high school students that may need it, they can also put in a manual project if they did something outside of that, and it just creates an overall record of service for them. And then they can just create it into a PDF and print it. So it's just one of the features that we have. We have a disaster recovery function where we just coordinate all of for a particular disaster, all of the projects that are happening with that disaster into one location. So that's easier for organizations to send out and say, hey, if you want to volunteer, here are some options. We had a really good one that just happened up in, not a good disaster, but a good effort to help with the disaster in Edmonton, Alberta area. So one of the things that we do also is that people can share, you know, what they're doing. And so we have a function that you can go in and share the story about what your group has done. I share this too, because it'd be great for Rotary. And I know the Murray one, John, when they did the tree planting, they did they did a success story that talked about those who came out and were involved in it. So as I mentioned, on the About Us page, it talks a little bit about it. It'll have a link to the guidelines, very simply on the guidelines. When projects cannot include direct cash solicitation, there can be donations of items. If people need something, they can, people put Amazon lists and say, hey, we have a refugee family coming, can you buy this for them? And so those things we can do, but not direct cash solicitations. There's no proselytizing on there, and no political or social advocacy specific. So we try and keep it a really neutral platform for everybody to be able to use. So those are the guidelines to be familiar with. Vicki mentioned John. John has been on our advisory council. So you can see that because this is unique for the Church Humanitarian to have a very community-based advisory council. And we did that intentionally because it's a community tool, and we wanted as many of the best minds to help guide this as we could that are involved in the efforts. And so we've had this council going on 3 years now. We meet twice a year, once virtually in May, and then we'll get together in November. And that's what John was mentioning earlier, where when they come together, we actually do a service project as part of that day, and then do some meetings later on in the day. And so we're working with John to do a project that's associated with their Rotary Club on that day. And so these folks will come in, we'll spend a couple hours doing that project, and then we'll have some of the meetings. So they're involved and actively involved in that. So a little bit of an overview. Now let me show you what we've started to do with the Utah Rotary. And it's taking a little bit longer than we had hoped, but I'm not sure where that page is loading, but it's moving forward. So one of the features that we can do is create an organization page, and then we can create that organization page into a volunteer center. So the structure that we've looked at with the Utah Rotary District is to create an overall district page, and then start to fill in the different clubs in that page. And so you can see that we've input this information. So I can go to, you can see the specific URL up here is justserve.org/Utah Rotary District. So they have that URL to be able to share. And we just have a couple of clubs in there right now. We're working on an effort. It's taking a little bit longer than we'd hoped. But what we're trying to do is connect our local volunteers with the local club presidents and put together their pages. And then we can pull their pages into this overall page. So Bountiful Rotary Club has their own page. And if I click on that, it'll take me directly to their club page. They currently don't have any projects, nor does the Murray one. I think they've had some, but they've since passed. But when they put a project in here, it'll show underneath this area. And on if say Bountiful had a couple of projects, or Murray had a couple of projects, when I click on projects here, they would show all of the projects on this section. So everything would be kind of pulled together for the district. And so you as a district leader could go in and say, hey, what's happening, the different projects in our area, the service that's happening, and be able to have a good idea with that. So that's the benefit with the setup as a volunteer center and having that overall page. I mentioned that.
Lane, do you
Yeah.
mind if I make a comment there?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're trying to encourage the clubs to do, and I'll speak to, it is moving a little bit slower than we wanted, but it'll pick up quickly as we hit July 1st, because it's a priority for me. One of the
Our specialists have been slow too, John. It's not just your folks.
Okay.
And them on the other side too to make those connections, but they're volunteers as well. So sometimes.
Yeah. But one of the things we're asking the clubs to do is put not just their big projects like the car show or their big ones, but the stuff that they're doing on a monthly basis. If they're going to the food bank for a week of 1 week, or if they're doing a small project here or small project there, we're asking them to make sure they're putting those in there, even if they technically don't need volunteers, but they can request those volunteers because it may be of interest to someone, and it's a way for them to see, hey, this Rotary Club is doing stuff. This club is involved in service, and that's something I'd like to get involved with. And they can click and say, hey, I'm interested in volunteering there. And it's a tool that the clubs can use to be able to attract potential new members. That's not, what the goal of Just Serve is, but it's an opportunity for them to connect with that club, and then the organic conversation will happen as they serve together.
Yeah, an example of that, John, and I think it was in April, that Murray had a tree planting event at the park, the local park, and they had decided to put that on Just Serve and requested 75 volunteers in addition to the club members that were going to be there. And they filled those slots. And they had, I think, the club and then 75 additional community members that came out to help with the tree planting. And so I think that one was popular, one, because of the time of year. It was a very family-friendly project. So a lot of families are looking to go out and serve together. But yeah, it created an opportunity just by posting that on Just Serve that more of the community saw it and decided that was something that they wanted to do. And so that connected people with from Just Serve with Rotary on the projects that were happening. And so we hope it's not necessarily our purpose, but we hope that there's benefit in that and for you. And when more people see those projects and are working together with Rotary, they see what Rotary is and what they're doing, and can help share that message too. So so the other thing that we've done, Vicki, we've worked on this as a general page, kind of more of a national page, I guess, for you, and we created it. So the one thing that I found with our developers as we were doing this, because I was going to try and then pull in John's page from the Utah Rotary District, is right now we're kind of at a level, and I asked him about it, like, is this an inception kind of a thing? We're going different levels. And so I know there's some administrative on the back end that they'll need to do to make this function, to be able to pull a volunteer center into another volunteer center. One of the workarounds that we could do currently is just at the end of this description, we can just add the links to all of the different districts that are participating. So you can just link directly to their pages. So you just click on Utah Rotary District and it'd take you to their page. But we're going to try and figure out a way to pull it all in so that you would see everything nationally. But that's on our roadmap for upgrades over this next year. But we can kind of work around that until we get to that point. So those are so that's Just Serve. That's kind of what we're doing with Utah Rotary, and John too. I don't know if we mentioned too, one of the things we've been able to do is so especially in our Utah area here, they've been very active the last few years with 9/11day.org. So some of the larger national days of service we get engaged with, and so there's an opportunity to kind of co-work together on those community efforts, where a lot of people will be out and be interested in serving in the community at those times. And so I know we've been able to pull Rotary in as a partner for that.
So Lane, the Rotary page would be found on the organization tab on the Just Serve site. Is that correct?
Yeah, it can be, and you can search for that. If I search Rotary on here, I'll see the Bountiful. There are some other clubs that have actually, I think some of these are starting to pop. So maybe they're doing it, they just haven't told me yet, and I haven't looked for them. So
yeah, because those are all Utah clubs.
Yeah.
Where was the other place that you found Rotary, that you found the Rotary International? Where was that?
We have, let's see, there were a few. I have to go to a little bit different on the administrative side, because it'll limit to my search area.
Okay.
But if I go here and just
Okay, I
search
see Rotary
Rotary.
International there, right?
It's right there on
Um,
top.
Yep. Perfect.
And you
Yep.
can see we've had 36 organizations create that are different versions of Rotary, right? So,
Perfect.
so we've got Colorado, Tennessee, some that have started in different areas as far back as 2018, and but yeah. And so recently, yeah, that Heber Valley one, these are, so they are doing it, John, they just haven't told us yet.
Yeah, and it looks like there's.
So
a
I'll be
number-
able to pull those ones in now that I know they're there. I just haven't looked because I keep asking our specialists and they say they're working on it, but some of them have pulled in already, so. Yeah, so there are, yeah, you can see some in Illinois, I think that's in Canada. up
Yeah, I
there,
see
but
San Diego. I see some in our regions here already. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so those would be easy if we created a district page in those other districts. We can just start with those ones that are already there and pull them in. And then add others as they develop.
Lane, are you open for questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I see Roy has his hand up.
Hear me okay?
Not quite. Try it
Oh.
again.
Am I muted? No.
Now we
no.
can hear you. You're just,
Okay, great.
you're unusually quiet for you, Roy.
That's what I've heard. Good afternoon. Thank you for this. I really, really like it a lot. I see this could be used in so many ways by the Rotary clubs within our district. I could point it out to the Interact and Rotaract clubs in our district when they're searching for projects to do. I just mentioned to our Interact governor that it's really important to give the clubs projects suggestions, or because the kids are just like Rotarians. If they're doing a club and they're not doing service projects, they're going to lose interest. My question would be, so I'm in Orange County, California. So when someone goes onto the site, are they able to search for just projects in their specific area?
Yeah, so I'll do that now. Right, so I just put in Anaheim. So within 25 miles of Anaheim, there's nearly 300 projects
Wow.
that are available to do. So just so you know, this under review feature. So this is a newly posted. And so our specialists get a notification, they just review it and approve it just to make sure it's within our guidelines. But that's what happens when you see that. But yeah, there's beach cleanups. One thing about your area too, I know you mentioned Interact and the Rotaract opportunities. We actually have, the Orange County area over the last year has had at least 25 high school Just Serve clubs develop. And that could be a great opportunity to connect together on some of those different school clubs now that are developing with the youth. And if you're involved in that, that might be a great opportunity.
So,
Connect, especially in that area.
so would each clubs or would it be the district that should set up a
Each club.
So Roy, in our case, we're asking each club to set up a page, and then the district has a page that's kind of a central location that the clubs can pull into. Is that a correct response there, Lane?
Yeah. Yeah. So the way we would term it is we create an organization page. So your district could have an organization page, and then your clubs would each have their organization page. What that allows them to do is that allows them to be able to input and manage their own projects. So we'll teach them how to do it, give them administrative rights, and then they'll be able to put their own projects in without always having to go through a specialist. So it gives them more autonomy to use that. And then if you have the district one, then we can pull in the clubs for your district, so they're all in one place, like the Utah one was. I think I clicked out of there, but it's.
and how would you teach them? We would need to, I mean, clubs will be interested at their own pace? Would we refer them to somebody, or is there a tutorial? Or
Yeah,
is it simple enough to just go in and do?
So the organization pages, it's helpful to have a specialist the first time help you set that up. And then we can pull in whoever's going to administer it would have to be registered on JustServe, but then we can give them the administration rights to do the projects. But putting in projects really is once you have all the information like location and write up and things like that, really the process only takes 5 minutes max to create a project. They're pretty simple.
So Roy, were you asking the question of how to get clubs interested in doing this?
So I would talk to the clubs about doing it, but then who would they reach out to get set up the first time? So probably I would advise them to go to the site and look around. And then if they're interested, we would refer them to you, Lane, or someone in your organization that would help them get set up the first time.
Yeah, what I can do is you could just tell me where they're at. So there's 2 ways to do it. This feature hasn't always worked how we'd hope, but on the About Us, if they go down to the contact your local specialist and they put in their information down here, and they'll put in a message, you'll see the email that it's going to. And so if I do put in my zip code, well, let me see if it'll. Okay, now it should, yeah. So right now it kind of tells me that it's going to Diane. I know Diane Nilsson, actually, she lives about 5 houses down from me. She's close. She's my neighbor too. So that's who it's going to, because that's my local area. So then they would get the email, the message, and could reach out directly. So that's one way to do it. If you're setting up the district page, then it because you cover more, larger geographical area than these specialist covers, then I could help you make the connection with those specialists. And I think that might be the easiest way if you're going to set it up for your whole district, because then I can coordinate that and make sure they're reaching out to the right people.
And Lane, that's essentially part of what we're doing as the pilot here is creating a best practice for how we do this. Yeah. And so it may evolve that we have a better way of making that happen for a Rotary district. We're just in the process of figuring that out.
Yeah, but
so far
based on that,
John Redd would be a great person to contact, except for he's going to be a little busy being governor, isn't he?
Yeah. So, but you're welcome. I can coordinate that. My role with JustServe, I manage all of our specialists in the U.S. and Canada. So I can connect with our areas, and then they know their local specialists, and we can make those more local connections.
Great. Are we ready for our next question?
Yep.
Okay, Makiko, you're up next, and then Kayla.
Thank you so much. This is very exciting, and I have very basic questions too. Do church members, are they the ones who use the site, or do you have like half and a half? Church members, non-church members? I just wanted to kind of have an idea who uses the site.
Yeah, so we don't ask a lot of those demographic questions specifically because it's a community tool, and we don't want them to think we're tracking that. We do know still that the majority this is still a fairly new effort. The majority of the users are still members of our church, but we're seeing that start to change. We're seeing a lot more engagement from community members and others getting involved. We've been a sponsor of the National League of Cities this is our 2nd year doing that. So we're connected with a lot of city mayors and a lot of other groups. As Rotary gives us, another opportunity as well. We're connected with the Red Cross, as we're a coalition partner with 9/11 Day. And so we're starting to really see what we hoped and starting to see a real momentum shift in that. Now, our members have provided a good foundation to help move that. But again, this being a community tool, we're hoping that starts to flip, and we're starting to see that more. In fact, as we develop in other countries, we're launching differently. Before we launched through the members of the church, now we're collecting partners in the different areas. In fact, Chile has adopted it and is using it as their national platform in the country from a national government level. And so we're starting to launch it a little bit differently, but maybe that was too long of an answer for your question, but it is changing, but there is a strong, a strong foundation that we've had with members of the church, but we're seeing a lot more get in.
I mean, we would love to, reach out and work with your church members, so that's not a problem, but
Yeah.
I live in.
We hope it's more
in-
than that, though.
Yes, we are in LA, Los Angeles, in and around LA, my district is. So just how many members do you have in this area, in and around Los Angeles?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I may have to.
It's a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. Southern California is pretty strong. And what's interesting, though, as I mentioned, kind of this shift is a lot of those high school clubs started with youth that are members of the church. But this second year, the incoming presidents of the Just Serve Club at these high schools, most of them are not members of the church now. They've grown to be a very community effort. In fact, in your area, they did I think they did, like a couple 100,000 meals with all these youth clubs that came together, and they and then after, so these are all like 400 or 500 high school kids came together on Global Youth Service Day and did that to give to the local food pantries. And then after they had food trucks come and they fed them, and they just kind of had a hangout for a few hours, played pickleball, did some other things. So but there is a strong foundation, and actually this launched in California. So California with Just Serve has actually been one of our longer standing areas.
Thank you.
Caleb, I saw your hand up and then you took it down. Are you able to ask?
I did have a question, but I was messaging John, and John suggested that I hang on until the end of the meeting. So I will bug John and Elaine at the end.
Okay. Lane, can you talk about how these projects are publicized? Because that's a really important feature, kind of tags onto what Makiko's talking about. This is not promoted through the church. It's promoted in a different way, isn't it? So how can you tell us about that?
Yeah, these are just on the site for people to find. When you create a project on Just Serve, it'll come with its own unique URL. It'll come with a QR code that's unique to that project. And so you have the opportunity to message that out on your own through your own channels. And people can just click and go directly to sign up. And it just coordinates the project a little bit easier for you. So those tools are available when you create a project, just makes it simpler. A lot of people will, like I said, use social media quite a bit. So the URLs, the links, and the QR codes are helpful. So those are available to help with it. Our Just Serve specialists do their best to make the awareness, but again, a lot of it is we also have a component, and this has improved recently, that will, when people register, it'll give them a weekly message to say, hey, here are some new projects in your area. The nice thing about it is I showed you the one that does a redirect. If you do the one on Just Serve directly, then you automatically get their information right when they volunteer. And so the nice part about that is you can collect that, and the next time you have another project, it's nice for you to go in and just send them a message and say, hey, we appreciate you serving at our last project. We have another one coming up in a month. We'd love to see you there as well. So there are opportunities to There's some ongoing messaging that comes directly through JustServe that's automated, but you also, once people volunteer, can maintain that connection with them.
John, is there anything let's go to Dan first. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Dan.
Wait, a couple of questions. How robust is your search engine? So, I mean, for example, a group of whatever, high school or post-high school kids be sitting around saying, July 1st, Saturday, July 1st, we want to go plant trees. Can they just go on site and put July 1st, 25 miles from wherever we are and we want to plant trees? And is it then just anything that fits the bill come up?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I forgot to mention that as part of it. So once I do my initial search, I can search, a keyword if I wanted to. The other thing that I can do exactly what you said is I can go in and say, you know what, I'm only available on Friday. And so I just put that in. Or I can say, yeah, I'm only available on Fridays. Generally, I can clear that. Maybe I clear that and say I'm available on Fridays. And I can do, afternoons on Friday. I'll give up my afternoon golf rounds on Friday so that I can do it. Then I can go into the attribute and say, you know what, I can do whatever, so I'm not going to select one of these. But this gives you an idea. We're going to improve this part of it because some of the feedback we're getting is, all ages is good, but can we break it down and say, hey, this is really good for adolescents or younger kids? So we're working on that. But I can also go in with interest levels. So if I'm interested in the LGBTQ community or immigration was on here, refugees or homeless, those are some things that I can filter by. And then if it wants some specific skills that I may have, then I can click on that and see which ones those are. So you'll see as I put some of those in, and then I can click apply filters. We'll see if any of those come up. Yeah. So these ones are probably, yeah, they're close to some of the things that I put on there, and I can filter down to what I would like to do.
That's good. So it really is pretty robust, and it sounds like you're working on it to make it a little more detailed. So the follow-up question, I guess I'm not certain what a member of JustServe is. Is it anybody that's actually signed up as a volunteer? If they, and put data in, it isn't everybody that obviously goes on the website.
Yeah, so it's people that have come in, and I'm signed in now, but when you come on, you'll see that you can register as a user. So those are the individuals that are registered, that have taken the time to put in their information, do a sign in, and that generally come pretty regularly to the site. And so we are at over 800,000 users now, so that have gone through that process. So we're in 14 total countries, I think 15 now, and we just launched in Germany. We just added the German language, and I think we're going to add in a couple of months. They're just figuring out like the postal codes and things like that in Austria and Switzerland, the German speaking areas as well there. So we're continuing to grow. That's the one thing too that's nice. When I register, I get to select my language. So it doesn't necessarily do it by location, but it'll translate it for me in my language. If we currently have French, Spanish, English, German, and Hungarian. So the Hungarian was just a weird one-off kind of one that happened, but we're continuing to work to expand those languages. Portuguese will be a critical one coming up, and we have a big presence in Brazil, and looking to that one as a growth area as well. So
So if you simply wanted to volunteer, you don't have to become a member. I mean, the advantage of being a member is you get notices, follow-ups, and similar things. But if somebody doesn't want that contact, they can just volunteer and do it all.
So
over.
they really can't. I mean, they could, but they can't directly on the site. So I showed you the way I could do that is just to kind of, you saw this one too. At a project, you can put how many people you need. And so I know this one, they still need 9 more volunteers for this project. So the way I could do what you're talking about, Dan, is I could just go in and I could just contact directly and say, I saw this on Just Serve. But if I were to click volunteer here and I'm not registered, it would ask me to register. And again, we keep very basic information. We actually have a separate server from the church's server because we wanted to make sure people were, if you register and sign up, know that the missionaries are not going to show up at your door. That's not our purpose in this. And so we've kept that separate and we keep it very minimal, basically just your name and email and phone number so you can be contacted, and we don't collect much more than, and your address just so the site knows where to search for you for projects. So I don't even know if it's your address or I think it's just your location. It just like your zip code. So not even your home address. So
Lane, one of the things, and Vicki just mentioned it, I thought in one of our prior meetings, you said that Just Serve promoted on social media and did advertising. Is that not correct?
We do a lot of our own social media advertising, but we don't, we won't do it directly for organizations. Sometimes we'll highlight organizations, or we may highlight projects, or we highlight, national days of service and things like that. But we don't, obviously with 14,000 plus projects on there, it's difficult for us to promote everything. But what we do is make it friendly so that you can, with your organization, create your social links and things like that. So
actually, what I meant, do you promote Just Serve on social media?
Oh yeah, we have both a Facebook and an Instagram channel. So, and in some areas they even have local pages.
Okay.
For Just Serve.
So people who are looking for volunteer opportunities are getting the promotion of Just Serve through social media channels. Maybe not for a particular organization or project, but on a global sense, they're on a holistic sense, or they're becoming more aware of the fact that Just Serve exists. I guess that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, and we have done some really recent campaigns, and we're seeing really good success from those campaigns.
John, I would turn to you and say, is there anything that you think the other governors, to-be governors in 3 days on the call should know about from your experience?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you will probably have to show this platform. And I think Zoom is a great way to do it because you're able to pull the website up and people can see it. Maybe even better than a live meeting in some ways. But you're probably going to have a couple of meetings with your clubs, someone from the clubs to get them to kind of catch the vision of what this can be for the club. For example, we're going to have another meeting here in July with our club presidents. And this will be about the 3rd time they've been exposed to it, but hopefully they'll start to see the value of what this can do. And as I mentioned before, the more content they put on the page, the more people are going to see who they are and what they're doing. And that's really what the value of this tool is to allow people to see who you are and what you're doing and have them engage with you. And from a growth point of view, this is, in my mind, just an invaluable tool that we can make use of, because people are going to want to know about Rotary and why we're doing these projects and what it is that makes us tick. And, you know, if there are people who are looking for opportunities to serve, there are people that are looking for a Rotary Club.
Thank you, John. You know, I see this being a source of projects for clubs that want more projects. And I see this as being a source of volunteers for clubs that want more volunteers. So it's really got a couple of different dimensions. So it won't surprise any of you that I've already gone into some of the weeds about this when you start to talk to clubs about this, not the setup, because that's what we've been talking about with Lane. Lane, do I have the ability to share my screen? Would that be okay with you?
Yep, you should be able to now.
Okay. So I just wanted to share, this is just the start of kind of a template for you to use when you're talking with your clubs, maybe some things that they need to be thinking about before they jump into this. Now, again, Lane has been the expert with setting this up and all of that. But just to be clear, it's not to be used for fundraising. Is that correct, Lane?
It is. Now there's a little caveat to that, right? They did John, like your car show is a fundraiser for your service part. So what we want to avoid is direct cash solicitation. So if as part of that fundraiser, John needed people to sit at the desk and take tickets or help clean up, it can be used for that, if that makes sense. So even though it's a fundraising event, you can still have volunteer opportunities posted for it, as long as their role is not taking money.
Okay, so being careful with fundraising, being careful with direct solicitation, proselytizing, political or social advocacy. Right? Have I gotten most of the big categories there?
Yes.
Okay, and then what I did is I'm going to send this, I'll share this document with all of you on the call, but I went into the website and added it at the bottom, what was on the website, what was on the JustServe website as far as guidelines, just so you have that. So I think that's kind of important because a lot of times clubs go, oh, this is a great way for us to promote our fundraiser. And that may or may not be the case, depending on exactly how that takes place, according to what Lane just said. Some other things to think about. You know, when I think about a club volunteer service opportunity, we're so used to just having our members attend that it's really important that when a club is going to use a platform like JustServe, that they're thinking about the fact that different people are going to be coming. And so to be thinking about the fact that there's a way for them to welcome those volunteers, people that they may not already know, to make sure that they have a way to assign them meaningful service and manage that a little bit more. And then a way to follow up with the volunteers to thank them for what they've done. And so I just put those things as kind of broad categories. I think we're going to learn a lot through using this platform, and we'll be able to flesh this out a little bit, but just for you to think about that. Also, Dan and I went to Rotary International Insurance and asked them, what were the implications for Rotary International Insurance? And what I have here is I've cut and pasted the response from Rotary International Insurance. And so this has to do with clubs in the US. If your clubs, everybody on this call, Caleb would have some clubs in Canada, there would be a little bit different answer to this. So just to be aware of the fact that your club should be aware of what insurance implications there are to having people who are not members of the organization participating in service events. And there's even a sample waiver on the insurance website. So I'll send this to you. One thing I thought was interesting, so clubs need to be aware of protecting the personal data. So if you're collecting the email information and that information from people who are volunteering, you need to be aware of the fact that that's now your duty to protect that data. And so just something to be aware of. And then to only post images of people if they've given their permission for you to use their images. And then I wouldn't be doing a good job if I didn't remind you about youth protection. And so certainly when youth are coming to volunteer, or, you know, Lane was talking about even JustServe clubs that could connect with Interact or Rotaract clubs, specifically Interact clubs in high schools, to be sure that we've got youth protection at the top of the agenda, making sure that we are having safe situations if there are youth who are coming as volunteers and they're not part of our organization, or youth that are part of our organization through one of our programs for young leaders, to make sure that we've got those protections. So just wanted to kind of share the template. And I think that each of you will be filling in some of these things and adding your best practices and your things to make sure we check these off as we get started on these. So I'll be sharing that with all of you. And so just wanted to let you know that that's in progress. Dan or Lane, anything to add or any more questions?
No, I would just add, if you're, if you're interested in getting this going for your district or club, feel free to send me an email. And I can give you, I have just a sample little Word document that just shows what information you need to set up an organization page. And if it's with the, with the district, I can help you set that one up initially. Determine an administrator for that, and then I can get you going on it. So at the district level, for sure, I'll work with you directly to set those pages up, and then can help connect down through your clubs.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you just take that list and add it to yours, or send both of them when you send it? That'd be really helpful.
Do you have the page you were just talking about, Lane? Is that something you can share with us now, or?
I can email it out. It's just a Word
Okay.
document. Yeah.
Okay.
Were you talking, Marta, about the list that Vicky just shared?
No, well, if you add your list, if you send it to Vicky, then Vicky can send out both of those sheets to us.
Oh, sure.
Because I would like to take it to my staff leadership for the district and say, hey, I think this is a good idea. And then we kind of talk it through and who needs to follow up on this and, that kind of thing. So it would be helpful to have all the information at once so that
Have
they
it all in one
can
package.
discuss it thoroughly.
You bet. And what I can do too is on that email, I'll just send it to you, Vicky, and then
Okay.
on that email, I'll just add the links to the Rotary International page, and then to the Utah Rotary page, so that you can kind of see a small sample of how it works. And I might show you one that we've done with the United Way that will show you a broader way that they connect in a lot of the community too as a volunteer center. So just a few examples that might be helpful as you're having the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lane.
So to some extent, John's kind of piloted this in Utah, but we don't want to call it a pilot because we don't want to get stuck with timelines and requirements, et cetera. And in all of you, now we're essentially kind of taking step 2 or phase 2. So I would encourage you, if you like it, I mean, obviously, if you don't think it's for your district, why then don't do anything. That's perfectly fine. But if you do, let us know how you're getting it out. And I would just assume, unless something shows up that we are not aware of, I'd just as soon start to really take it out to the entire zone, paired zones, as quickly as we can. I mean, it just seems like a very powerful tool, and it's easy to use. Seems like it to me.
It also seems like a good way to get my clubs to work, to connect my clubs to one another. In addition to connecting us to other people in the community, we've been focusing a lot on having the clubs collaborate. So if one club is the lead club on an event and they want other clubs in the area to send them Rotarians, this seems like a perfect way to just send the link and say, hey, any of the members of your club, rather than passing around sign-up sheets at meetings and all the other normal non-technical ways. So this sounds like it has a lot of potential in that regard as well. So thank you very much for bringing this to us.
I agree. And I think, I would assume you can sign up with your phones, right? You could just pop on either the website, or there might be an app, and just sign up there at the club meeting. I think that's a great idea, Claire. Good way to sell it too.
There is an app on both Android and iOS. So
Actually, Claire, that's a really good point that I don't think we've talked about. This automates a whole bunch of stuff we're already
Right.
doing, makes us a lot more efficient. And that's another plus. That's a huge value.
I'm gonna,
Yes, Marie.
District 5400 is aware of this. We do have some clubs, kind of unofficially, I mean, even like probably the last 3 years, that, we're aware of it. And I just looked even here locally, and I'm seeing all the organizations that are looking for volunteers who our Rotary Club just was at a peace camp and they were on there looking for volunteers. So it's kind of one of those things that could be an incredible tool. Our district has invested in a lot to kind of do something similar. So we're actually having a meeting tomorrow, but I do see this as something that can, as Claire said, it can help throughout your district, especially in metropolitan areas where you have a lot of clubs and people maybe, my club doesn't maybe do that many projects, but the club next door does, but I'm not going to leave my club, but I can still do service, And Vicky, I think you said something really important. And I do know that our club has used this because we did need service and we went and looked and said, how can we serve? So it goes both ways.
Perfect. And just add to that, if you're working on something, and I think that's great, we're not trying to, to dominate a market or anything. So if we can be complementary or supplementary to what you're doing, just add more eyes to what you're doing, then we're happy to.
Yeah, no, I think it was more, this kind of thing is needed. So it was kind of like, oh, where there's a void, someone's going to try to fill it up. So, I think it makes sense collectively that the overall vision of all of us on this call is to get people engaged in their community and serve at the end of the day.
Roy, you had some final words?
Yeah, just a question. Lane, do you have any sense of how many people are using, reading, or subscribing by county, like here in Orange County, California? I did go on and I saw quite a few things on there, but have any idea how many people are using this site?
I can look that up. It takes me a little bit to get the metrics for that, but you're looking at Orange County specifically?
Yeah, Orange County,
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, and maybe separate after that, you could shoot me an email. I can look that up and get you the information, but.
It would just be good background to let our clubs know how many people look at this site, not necessarily how many have volunteered, although that would be good too. But yeah, I really like it. I really like the whole format of it. And I went on my phone, and it's very simple to just put your city in and projects come up. So I think we could push it out on social media, especially like Marie said, in metropolitan areas where people are so close. There's 3 million residents here in Orange County, and Facebook is huge. So if we push it out on the site just for people to learn more about it, I have to say that I have not heard of it. I haven't.
Yeah, so we have in Orange County, we have about 6,000 registered users in that area. So there's opportunity still to grow in that area given your population, but that's where we're at. Like I said, we're still growing, and still getting out there. Now, the other side of that is when you do post on Just Serve, you do have AmeriCorps and you do have volunteer match, and so that's a multiplier effect right there for eyes that are seeing your projects as well.
I'm sorry, we have who?
So we have an agreement with AmeriCorps. They have a service site where they have projects, and then Volunteer Match, which has been one of the industry leaders in helping connect volunteers and organizations over the years. So and they have a few million users, so that continues to add to the eyes that are on it, and we're continuing to grow and market more. We started a lot with the organizations, and so now we're adding more campaigns to get volunteers and more people in the community more aware of the service. One of the things that'd be interesting for you, Roy, is the Just Serve will have a float in the Huntington Beach July 4th parade. So I know, and this is kind of an interesting church community thing, but the church members have tried for years to get a float and they've always been denied. But they did a Just Serve float this year and it was accepted. So they'll be in that. Huntington Beach seems to claim that as the largest 4th of July parade west of the Mississippi. is what they'll say, so.
Yeah, I think it actually
Are you
is.
going to be on a float, Roy?
I will not be on a float. Honey, 4th of July is a big event.
Marta will be. Marta will be
There
on
you
the
go.
float.
Awesome, Martin. But Lane, I will shoot you an email still, because if you're gonna have someone, send photos of that, then we can post that. And again, try to introduce Just Serve. Here in my community and other communities, there's community Facebook pages. And of course, I think just about everyone is familiar with the Nextdoor apps. There's a Facebook page here called the Anaheim Hills Buzz. It was one of the first community pages done on Facebook. And we have about 30,000 subscribers. They've started it in other cities here in Orange County. And those are great pages to push things out on. So yeah, if you can send me photos, I'll be happy to help, because we should all be, pushing this out there for more people to learn about this.
Yeah.
And Lane, you'll appreciate this because Rotary families are kind of crazy people anyway, but this would be a great tool if some family's going on vacation someplace. And since Just Serve is international and they want to involve their kids in a volunteer project in whatever, Costa Rica or something, this would be a great place to find something like that.
Yeah, for sure. We've had a number, we just had a success story recently of grandparents that were going to visit their teenage sons in Arizona and said, hey, we want to do service with them. And they were familiar with Just Serve. So they got on the app, searched in the area, found something that they could do together, and then took their teenage grandsons to go serve together. And so my wife and I have personally done that too. We were in Kauai last fall. We found an organization there and served for one morning that we were there. So yeah,
Well,
ways to give back as you're traveling. That's becoming more and more popular, kind of that travel and service component.
Well, it's a legitimate organization and basically serves as a vetting organization. I mean, if it's on Just Serve, it's probably not some wild, crazy thing that could wind up being an issue. So,
Right.
I mean, it vets the projects too, to some extent, just naturally. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Lane. Thank you for your time and for sharing all of this with us. We have your email. I'll look forward to getting that document that I can put with my other document and share it with everyone, as well as the link to the recording, if you could provide that to us as
I'll
well.
send that. I may not be able to get to that till the morning. I
No
do
problem.
I do a private therapy practice in the evening, so I'm gonna
No
head
problem.
straight to that, but I'll get that information to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And to all you DGEs, I'm so excited for you. That baton is almost in your hands. So
Reaching out,
reaching.
right? Yeah.
Hey,
So
Lane,
happy new Rotary year. This is an exciting project to be starting off with. And so thank you for putting the time into being here with us today. And again, Lane, thanks for your.
thanks, Vicky. Hey, Lane, can you hang on for just a moment?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
See ya.
Everybody.
Stop recording or we'll hear your conversation.
Oh,
Bye, y'all.
I don't think it's private at all, but